second graders. Today in our Wonders book, we are going to be on our last shared reading story, which is actually, the genre is a poetry. So we will read this poetry poems in just a minute, but before we do that, I would like you to get out your Wonders book. And on page 302, open it up to that page. And you'll notice that on 302, these are the vocabulary words we just went over in Mrs. Murphy's lesson on our words that we need to know. On the second page is our poetry words, and this is something new. So I would like you to follow along as this reads our poetry words that we need to know. And we have learned 3 of them, but there's a fourth one that we have not learned yet. So I want to make sure that you know how to read that one. Uh-oh, Mrs. Murphy's just going to make this big so you can see it. Oh, I went too far. Okay, so we're going to start up here with this first one.
Poetry words. Alliteration. I like to read a poem with alliteration because I like to say the same beginning sound in words. Say 3 words with the same beginning sound.
All right, so the first element of a poetry or a poem is alliteration. And that means saying the same beginning sound in words. So it's kind of like a tongue twister. For example, she sells seashells by the seashore. Those all start with the SH or the S sound. That would be alliteration. So if something starts with the same beginning sound and there's about 3 words, or it could be more, that's alliteration. And a lot of times we call that a tongue twister because it's hard for our mouth to say that same beginning sound multiple times. So in poems, we will look for alliteration.
Repetition. Poets who repeat words or phrases in a poem are using repetition.
And we talked about repetition in our lesson on Monday. So repetition is words that are repeated multiple times throughout the poem, and that gives us repetition.
Why might a poet want to use repetition in a poem? Free verse. In free verse, the words do not need to rhyme. Which would you rather write, a free verse or rhyming poem?
So free verse we talked about on Tuesday when we did that poem about a rainy day, and that was a free verse. We did not have rhyming words at the end of the lines. However, there are some poems that do have rhyming words at the end of lines, and that we'll find out on Friday is another type of poem. The last one is similes, and you should know about similes because we worked a lot on similes, but let's review what a simile
Tell
is.
why. Simile. Bill was as fast as a cricket is an example of a simile because it uses the word as to compare 2 unlike things. Name the 2 things that are being compared.
So we know similes compare 2 things, and they're not alike. And so a lot of times the simile will use the word like or as to compare the 2 things. Okay, we're going to go on to our first poem here. So turn the page to 304. And I'm going to click on this and please follow along.
Genre. Poetry. Snow shape. Essential question. What excites us about nature? Read how poets describe things in nature.
All right, so as we listen to these poems, our essential question is, what excites us about nature? And then how do the poets get us excited? Turn the page, or actually just open up, sorry, you don't have to turn the page. Flip to the other side, page 305. And listen to this poem.
Snow is falling from the sky. It gently lands on the ground. It's bright, bright white, just like cold milk. It looks so soft and smooth. I hate to ruin it with my feet, but I have got a plan. I stand up tall and close my eyes, and then straight back I fall. I slide my arms up and down. I move my legs in and out. I stand up to see what I have made, a 4-foot shape in the snow of me. By Dana Williams.
All right, so in this first poem, we definitely find some repetition. The author or the poet repeats the words bright, bright, white. So bright, bright is repeated twice to show you or make you see or feel how bright that snow is. And then it compares the snow just like cold milk. So you can compare the bright white snow to the cold milk. So right there in this poem, I see that the author is using repetition and the author is also using similes. Now I notice in this poem's a free verse. It does not have words that rhyme at the end of the lines. So this author kind of was able to kind of be free and write about how they feel about snow. And so remember, a lot of times poems will tell us about nature and will tell us the thoughts and feelings about how the poet feels about that thing in nature. So for example, snow. How does the poet feel about snow? Okay, we're going to go on to the next poem. So flip the page to page 306. Sorry, Mrs. Murphy just dropped her book. On 306, this poem is about a nature walk. So follow along in your book on a nature walk.
Nature walk. When you take a walk in the fall, leaves are like a blanket on the ground. They crunch under your feet with each step you take. When you take a walk in the fall, the air feels as cool as drops of rain on your cheek. It smells like clean cotton towels. When you take a walk in the fall, the outdoors will excite you. It's a wonderful time. By Sarah Miller.
So again, this poem is a free verse. There is no rhyming words at the end of the line. I did see some similes though, and I heard some similes. So one of the similes that I saw and heard was the air feels as cool as drops of rain on your cheek. So you're feeling the air, comparing the air to drops of rain on your cheek. And another simile was, it smells like clean cotton towels. So they're comparing the rain to the clean cotton towels. Now, you can tell that the author enjoys nature because she says at the end, her thoughts and feelings are, it's a wonderful time. And you can see throughout this poem, the author uses a lot of descriptive words. For example, crunch. So as she uses the word crunch, you can feel or you can hear the leaves crunching under your feet. So the author used a lot of descriptive words in this poem. And that's what we want to do. When we're poets or authors, we want to use a lot of descriptive words to have our readers hear it, see it, smell it, taste it. Use their senses. All right, the last poem we're going to read is on page 307, and it's called In the Sky.
Sky. Outdoors on a clear day, look up in the sky. What do you see there? Look, I see a giant polar bear. Look, I see a pale flower growing. Look, I see a buffalo and her baby. Wait, it's changing. Now I see a cowboy on his horse, galloping, galloping across the sky. I wonder where he'll ride. By Juanita Marco.
All right, in this poem, again, it's a free verse. There were two words that rhymed at the end of the line, and it was there and there. And they make the air sound like we're working on the sleeve. There was also some words that were repeated or repetition. So if you look was repeated 3 times. So right there, that's repetition. also, there was a couple words repeated down here. Galloping, galloping. So right there, the author used repetition so that you could hear in your mind the galloping sound of the horse going across the sky. So, no similes in this one. I was looking for similes, but no similes in this one. So, what this week in poetry I want you to understand is that poems usually tell about the author's thoughts and feelings. They have the elements of alliteration. They also have the elements, alliteration, remember, is the same beginning sound, repeated. They have repeated words or repetition. They also have free verse, and a lot of times they have similes. Hope you enjoyed our poems today that we read about nature. On Friday, you will be writing your own poem about an animal in nature. So I want you to think, what is an animal that you love and that you would like to write a poem about?